Alright, so welcome back to the channel. In this video we are going to do host discovery. This is a continuation of our Active Directory pen testing. In the previous video we had created the lab. What we are going to do now is in the context of something called as black box engagement, wherein we are given the network access. However, we have absolutely no idea about the network. We don't know how many hosts are there, what all are their IP addresses, what operating systems are running, what services are running on the hosts. We have absolutely no idea, no credentials, nothing. And with that as the starting point, we will begin and we'll use some tools and techniques, and we'll gather all this information through our reconnaissance, and then we would have a pretty good and pretty clear idea about what's happening in the network. We would know the different IP addresses, we would know what services are running on those, and if there are any strategically important hosts such as domain controllers, maybe database servers, we'll also know about those. And that's the whole purpose of this exercise. So start from no information about the network and arrive at a pretty good clear idea about what's going on there and what could be the target areas to attack and so on. So let's begin. So the one other thing is, I know this introduction is becoming a little lengthier, but this might be worth pointing out. If you're a part of a red team engagement, then you need to be concerned about how much traffic are you generating and whether it is standing out from the normal traffic, because the blue team is watching and you don't want to get caught. Also, there could be security solutions which could be obstructing your attacks or your tools. So you might want to be a little evasive there. But in this video, we are going to keep it simple at this stage. Maybe in the later videos, we'll address those concerns as well. So yeah, so with that, let's jump in now. All right, so let's begin with one of the passive techniques. It's Wireshark. And what we are doing is we are sniffing the network. We are capturing some packets that are going around on my adapter that is connected to the AD lab. So if you see here, it's ETH1, which is connected to the AD lab 56 subnet, and our Wireshark is also listening on ETH1. So you can see there are a lot of packets flying around, and we are able to see some IP addresses such as this one here, 11, there is 12, there is 23. And if you keep this running for some time, it will capture quite a good amount of traffic. You can also save this to a PCAP file and then inspect the traffic later. So we can also go to statistics and conversations, and we can see which all different machines are talking. So if I go to IPv4, there are 7 conversations that are captured. So from here you get a pretty good understanding about which IP addresses exist at the minimum. So there is 10, 11, there is 12, there is 22 and 23. So these IP addresses definitely exist on the network. So I would note this down as the possible hosts in the network. So let's say you don't have the UI access to the network, but you just have the terminal access like SSH. In that case, you would not be using Wireshark. Rather than that, what comes to rescue is TCP dump. So it would also capture the traffic pretty well, and then you can save it to a PCAP file, get it to your host, and then view it in the Wireshark offline. So that's another pretty good option. So I'm running it now against the ETH1 adapter, and okay, and you can see in a short while it will start showing the network traffic that's coming out of our AD network. Okay, so as you can see, there is some network traffic that we have captured. There are some IPs I can detect here. There is this 56.11. This is coming up a lot. It could be a domain controller, and we can also see here the name is probably resolved, bravos.local. So that's good. There could be more IPs also. If you just keep it running, it will capture more and more traffic. And as there is more communication happening amongst the different hosts, it will keep capturing all that traffic as well. So this is another option compared to Wireshark. It's pretty lighter and doesn't need the UI access. So you can run it on the terminal, save it to a pcap file, get that pcap file into your machine, and then inspect it in Wireshark, which would be much more easier to filter the traffic and inspect it pretty closely. So another option that we have is something called as responder. Responder is, you might have heard it in the context of LLMNR poisoning or NBTNS NetBIOS poisoning, but we are going to run it in the analyzer mode or analysis mode. So we just say responder, and we specify which adapter, and then we say -A, which means we are not poisoning any traffic, we are just analyzing it. So it's going to run as a sort of a passive tool over here. Alright, so as you can see, it says here responder is in analyze mode, so no NBTNS, LLMNR, MDNS request will be poisoned, which is good. We don't want to poison anybody right now, at least. Alright, so you can see here it has figured out a few more IP addresses, I believe, or is it just 11 as yet? So 11 definitely. Alright, so this is another option that you could use, and the reason why we are discussing different tools rather than just one is it might happen that some tools might be blocked on the network. So if you don't have one running, at least you should have some others, and that's why we are covering multiple tools. Alright, so let's go ahead with the next one in our list, which is something called as Net Discover. And you just need to tell it the adapter and also the range, otherwise it will go ahead and do the entire network. But in our case it is 56 networks, so I'm just specifying that. And once you run it, it will start doing some ARP, and once you start it, it will do some ARP magic and find out which IPs exist. So as you can see, it has detected pretty much every host on the network. It's 10, 11, 12, 22, 23, 1 and 100. I believe they are the internal IPs of the VirtualBox host adapter, so we can ignore that, but rest are definitely the part of our Active Directory network. So let's go ahead and use the next tool, which is fping, and we specify the switches. A for show me all the hosts that are alive, S to show me the statistics, G, I believe it's for the network range that we are specifying, and Q is to do it in the quiet mode. And then let's go ahead and specify the range 192.168.56.0/24 and go. Alright, that was quite quick. It gave us the IP addresses which are present, and it also gave us our own IP, which is 199. Alright, so next let's go to our favorite tool, Nmap. This is for network mapping with the host discovery switch, that is SN, which will not do port scan. We will ask him to go ahead and give me the whole scan the whole network and find out which hosts are alive, and that's what it will do now. Alright, so it found 1 is live, 10, 11, 12, 22, 23, 100, and so on. You can also give it a grepable list. You can also go ahead and ask him to give you a grepable list, and then you can say awk, and then you can get the IPs grepped. Alright, so next we use netexec, and we just tell it the IP range. This tool is forked from crackmap exec, if you have used it earlier, and this is a pretty cool tool. It gives a lot of information. not only just the IP address, but also the name of the machine, the operating system on that machine, and also the domain. So that's pretty cool. And it also saves this information in its database, so you can also query from there. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so once you get a pretty good idea about which hosts are running on the network, and it may happen that not every host may be discoverable, but whatever you could discover, once you get an idea about that, then the next step would be to find out which services are running on which host. So how we would do it is we would create a list of the hosts, and by now you would have already done it because you are taking notes while you are doing this commands in the network. But let's say if you haven't done it so far, so we'll just run the nmap one more time, but it may not be necessarily nmap, it could be anything else. And then we get the list. So this is the list that we have. Let's exclude the ones that we don't want, the .1 and .100 and 199. That's not part of the network really, it's something else. So we'll just create a list, hosts.txt, and we'll paste the list here. And we use simple nmap port scan. We'll tell him to use the minimum rate as 3500, and we scan all the ports, and we give it, either we can put it in this way, or we tell him to use the host list, which is right here. So hosts.txt, and let it go. So this will take some time. I'll pause the video. Once it is back, it will give me all the open ports. Alright, so the port scan is finished, and you can see we have got a pretty good idea now of which ports are open on all these hosts. So on .10, all these ports are open. On 11, all these are open. 12, these are open, and so on. Now we want to know more about the services that are running at this port. So let's take, for example, the first host, the .10 host. So let's see, we have all these ports, and we'll take a bunch of those up until here, maybe right here. So let's say 445. So we'll go for 53, 80, 88, 135, 139, 389, and 445, right? So sudo nmap S for still the scan, SC for default scripts, and SV for fingerprint the services. And we'll say port are 53, 88, I believe 389, before that there was 135, 139, 445, and 389. And the IP was 192.168.56.10, and let's see what we get. Alright, so that was good. We get to know now that this is a server with the common name as kingslanding.7kingdom.local. It has to be a domain controller. It has a Kerberos running, and also it has the LDAP running, Microsoft Windows Active Directory LDAP. So these two services could be different, but we have them running on the same machine. We also can see there is a domain name here, so we get pretty good information about what services are running and which ports are open. Alright, so that's pretty much it. We will continue in the next video with some more discovery, and also we'll see how to do the same thing from a Windows machine. So what we did now was we used Kali Linux, but what if we have a situation where we are doing it all from Windows as an attacker machine? So you might have gotten access to the network through Windows machine, and that would be pretty exciting, because then we can also learn something about using the native tools that Windows comes with, and it will be pretty exciting, pretty interesting. All right, so I'll see you in the next video, and I hope you like this one. Stay tuned to this channel, and I'll see you soon.